An year is made up of 365 days. The days have passed and now we are here at the end of this year. Pavitra, we are given a chance to pause and reflect on the things we did throughout the 365 days, whether they were right or they were wrong.
Yes, Tinal. Now you too should pause and think. What did you do during the past 365 days? But wait, before that, let's take a look at what happened in the country during the past 365 days.
The launch ceremony of the Clean Sri Lanka program was held on the 1st of January.
මේ දූෂණය නතර කරන්න, වංචාව නතර කරන්න අපි ආදර්ශය සපයනවා. හැබැයි දේශපාලන අධිකාරී ආදර්ශය සහ මැදිහත් වීම පමණක් ප්‍රමාණවත් වන්නේ නැහැ.
The appropriation bill for the year 2025 was presented to the Parliament, estimating the government's expenditure at 4,616 billion rupees. Local authorities elections, a special provisions bill was tabled in Parliament. President Kumara Dissanayake departed for China, marking the beginning of a new era. Bilateral talks between Chinese President Xi Jinping and President Dissanayake began. The Chinese president stressed that he is ready to work with Sri Lanka for a new era of development. Gampala Vidanagiya Samantha Kumara alias Willie Sudha, along with his wife and another woman, were found guilty of 17 charges and were sentenced to 8 years in prison with rigorous imprisonment. Issuing a joint statement on the China-Sri Lanka agreement, China confirmed it would move forward with all major projects, including the joint development of Colombo Port City and Hambantota Port. The two parties also signed the One Belt, One Road cooperation plan. Senior journalist Victor Ivan passed away. The river banks of Galloya burst during the rains, flooding nearly 1,000 acres of paddy fields. According to a proposal by the ruling party, the Parliamentary House Committee decided to increase the amount charged for a parliamentarian's daily meal from 450 rupees to 2,000 rupees. A circular was issued to all ministry secretaries, limiting the facilities of cabinet and deputy ministers. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa filed a fundamental rights petition with the Supreme Court seeking a ruling that his fundamental rights were violated due to the reduction of his security. Air Vice Marshal Vasubandhu Edirisinghe was appointed as the new commander of the Air Force. The President's Fund Governing Council approved the provision of services through the online system through the divisional secretariats. The Attorney General filed an indictment against Member of Parliament Nama Rajapaksa in the High Court on charges of criminal misappropriation of 70 million rupees from the infamous Krish transaction. Mave Senadiraza, a senior leader of the Ilange Tamil Arasu, passed away. Defence Secretary Air Vice Marshal Sampattu Yakonda stated that he does not intend to continue as the Chief of Defence Staff. Ishadi Amanda, representing Sri Lanka, placed second in the 40th Mrs. World competition. Under the government program to collect civilian-owned firearms, Yoshida Rajapaksa handed over a total of 7 firearms that he possessed to the Ministry of Defence. India allocated 3 billion rupees from the 2025 budget to provide assistance to Sri Lanka. President Kumara Dissanayake, in his capacity as the Minister of Finance, gave permission for the importation of vehicles for personal use from the 1st of February. Renowned businessman Deshamanya Ken Balendra passed away. Prominent businessman Deshamanya Hari Jayawardena passed away. The 77th Independence Day celebrations were held at the Independence Square in Colombo, presided over by the President under the theme Let's Unite for National Revival.
අද ඔබ ඉදිරියේ මෙසේ පවසන්නේ ඉතිහාසයේ විසි අපට උරුම කර දී ඇති මේ මහඟු අවස්ථාව මගහැර යාමට අපට කිසිදු යුක්ති සහගත අයිතියක් නොමැති වන නිසායි.
The government announced that the Department of Immigration and Emigration will operate 24 hours a day to prevent delays in issuing foreign passports. Minister Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa revealed in Parliament that 43 MPs and ministers received over 1.22 billion rupees in compensation for houses destroyed during the 2022 Aragalaya.
Vimala Veera Disanayaka.
Vimala Veera Disanayaka, 550,000 rupees. Geeta Kumarasinghe, 972,000 rupees. Janakatisa Kuttiarachi, 1.1 million 43,000 rupees. Gunapala Ratnasekara, 1.4 million 12,780 rupees. Premanatsi Dolavatta, 2.3 million rupees. Priyankara Jayaratna, 2.3 million 48,000 rupees. Sampatata Korela, 2.5 million 40,610 rupees. Jayanta Katagoda, 2.8 million 14,800 rupees. Vimal Veeravansa, 2.9 million 54,000 rupees. Professor Chalna Jayasumana, 3.3 million 34,000 rupees. Akhile Lavala, 3.5 million 54,250 rupees. Chamal Rajapaksa, 6.5 million 39,374 rupees. Chandamavira Kodi, 6.9 million 48,800 rupees. Ashoka Priyanta, 7.2 million 95,000 rupees. Samanpriya Herap, 1 million 520,000 rupees. Janaka Bandar Thendakon, 1 million 550,000 rupees. Lohita Begunavardhana, 11 million 640,000 rupees. Dr. Sita Arambepula, 13,780,000 rupees.
Ahimsa Vikramatunga, daughter of Lasantha Vikramatunga, sent a letter to the Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya expressing concern that the Attorney General recommended the release of those accused of her father's assassination based on government recommendations from 2019. 3 organised criminals accused of offences including murder were arrested in Dubai and repatriated to the island with the intervention of the Criminal Investigation Department. Ravi Karunanayaka's proposal to abolish the MP pension scheme was presented to the Parliament. The proposal also received the support of the ruling party. President Andrew Kumar Disanayaka departed for the United Arab Emirates to participate in the 2025 World Government Summit at the invitation of His Highness Sheikh Mohammed bin Zayed Al Nahyan, President of the United Arab Emirates. President Andrew Kumar Disanayaka addressed the World Government Summit in the United Arab Emirates. The President emphasized that everyone must come together to overcome challenges that transcend borders. India's Adani Green Energy decided to withdraw from 2 proposed wind power projects in Mena and Punareen village in Sri Lanka. Following complaints received, Inspector General of Police Priyanta Veerasuriya instructed the Criminal Investigation Department to investigate how MP Namal Rajapaksa obtained his law degree. A committed Govibimata national program aimed at cultivating all uncultivated lands was officially launched in Polgahavela. President Andrew Kumar Disanayaka presented the 79th budget to the Parliament. Aruna Vidanagamage, also known as Miga Sare Khadja, and his 6-year-old daughter were shot dead. Sanjeeva Kumara Samaratna, also known as Gane Mulla Sanjeeva, was shot dead inside the courtroom number 5 of the Magistrates Court complex in Halfsdorf, Colombo. The police constable accused of assisting Nadun Chintak Vikramatna Harakata in his escape from CID custody was brought back to Sri Lanka from India. 6 wild elephants were killed when Meenagaya Intercity Express train travelling from Batticaloa to Colombo collided in Galloya. Innovation Island Summit aimed at positioning the country as a global hub for innovation commenced in Colombo. 2 suspects arrested for murder in Kotahena were killed in a shootout with the police when they were being taken to reveal the weapons they had hidden. Secretary to the Ministry of Defence, retired Air Vice Marshal Sampathu Yakonta, issued an order for the immediate arrest of all members who have deserted the armed forces. The Supreme Court scheduled a hearing for 9 fundamental rights petitions challenging the appointment of Deshabandhu Tennakon as Inspector General of Police. For the first time in Sri Lankan Parliament history, National People's Power MP Sugat Vasantha de Pereira presented a motion to adjourn the House using a note written in Braille. The second reading of the budget was approved in Parliament with a majority of 109 votes. A total of 155 votes were in favour and 46 were cast in opposition. The ruling party revealed in Parliament numerous instances of how previous governments squandered public funds. It was revealed that 28 million rupees in compensation had been paid to a woman named Nyanaka. It was revealed that former President Mahinda Rajapaksa spent 3.5 billion rupees on foreign trips over 4 years, and former President Ranil Wickremesinghe spent 533 million rupees a year. It was also revealed that a former speaker had spent 33 million rupees on fuel for vehicles over 9 months. The Madra Magistrates Court ordered the arrest of former IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone in connection with the investigations into the shooting incident that occurred in front of a hotel in Palana, Madra on the 31st of December 2023. Auction of luxury vehicles owned by the Presidential Secretariat began. The Election Commission set a date for accepting nominations for the local government elections. Dr. Peter Brewer, Senior Mission Chief of the International Monetary Fund, said that the future of Sri Lanka will be favourable and that opportunities will arise for those who have left the country to return. Police requested the public to provide information on former IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone. Former Minister Mervyn Silva was remanded over allegations of violating the Public Property Act. Ranil Wickremesinghe's interview on Al Jazeera aired. Journalists cited the Butler on the Commission report, pointing out that Ranil Wickremesinghe was the mastermind behind the torture chambers. The signing of the bilateral agreement officially concluded the public debt restructuring between Sri Lanka and Japan. Japan became the first bilateral creditor among the official creditor committee to restructure Sri Lanka's bilateral external debt. It was revealed in Parliament that a group of former MPs and ministers had received houses in addition to compensation after their homes were damaged during the Aragalaya. The court issued an open warrant to arrest former IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone on site. Police conducted a search at former President's Chief of Staff Sagala Ratnayaka's residence in connection with former IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone. Former MP Lakshman Vijayamana raised objections to UNP leader Ranil Wickremesinghe at Sirikota over Rajat Sena Ratna's distribution of appointment letters to new UNP officials. The Butler on the Commission report was tabled in Parliament. The Leader of the House informed Parliament that it will be referred to the Attorney General for further legal action. A nationwide census was conducted on animals that cause crop damage. Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe stated that none of the allegations made in the Battle on the Commission report apply to him. Acceptance of nominations for the local government elections began. Imtiaz Bakir Makar resigned as the chairman of the Samag Jana Balawegaya. However, the General Secretary of the Samag Jana Balawegaya said that party leader Sajid Premadasa did not accept the resignation letter. The Supreme Court ruled that the detention order issued by the former President Gotabaya Rajapaksa under the Prevention of Terrorism Act to detain and interrogate a woman arrested for drug possession was completely against the law. The Supreme Court ordered the government to pay the woman 100,000 rupees in compensation for the violation of her fundamental rights. IGP Deshabandhu Tennakone, who had been ordered by the court to be arrested on site, was remanded after appearing before the Madra Magistrates Court. The Supreme Court dismissed a fundamental rights petition filed by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa challenging the reduction of his security detail. The 2025 budget appropriation bill was passed by a majority of 114 votes. An aircraft of the Sri Lanka Air Force crashed in Variapola. The two pilots on board ejected the aircraft and descended safely using parachutes. The UK imposed sanctions on former Chief of Defence Staff and former Army Commander General Shavendra Silva, former Navy Commander Admiral Vasanta Karannagoda and former Army Commander General Jagat Jayasuriya. The UK claimed that they were responsible for serious human rights abuses and violations during the Sri Lanka Civil War. In addition, sanctions were also issued against Karuna Amman alias Vinyagamurthy Muralidharan, a former leader of the LTTE. A group of MPs submitted a motion to the Speaker seeking the removal of Deshabandhu Tennakone from the post of IGP. Meanwhile, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa said that he will support any motion brought against Deshabandhu Tennakone. Former State Minister S. Vyalendran, who was arrested on bribery charges, was remanded. Professor Gananatha Obesekara, a renowned anthropologist who conducted influential studies on Sri Lanka's ethnic crisis, Buddhism, culture and other subjects, passed away. The court ordered the Bribery Commission to take custody of 19 luxury vehicles that were fraudulently imported into the country between 2015 to 2022. Member of Parliament Chamara Sampath Dasanayake, who was arrested on charges of financial corruption while he was the Chief Minister of Uva Province, was remanded. Former Assistant Superintendent of Police Kulasiri Udugambala was acquitted in the case filed by the Attorney General concerning the arrest and exposure of military intelligence officers at the Millennium City Housing Complex. The Elephant Pass Table Salt Factory, affiliated to the National Salt Company, was open to the public. The table salt was launched under the name Rajalunu. A direct flight service between Tiruchi and Jaffna commenced after 47 years. Pay tax was revised from the 1st of April. Accordingly, the salary limit of 100,000 rupees, which was previously exempt from tax, was increased to 150,000 rupees. The Colombo High Court sentenced S.M. Ranjit, the former Chief Minister of the North Central Province, and his sister-in-law Shanti Chandrasena to 16 years of rigorous imprisonment. The sentence comes after a prolonged trial initiated by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, which filed the case under 6 indictments. The accusations detail the provisions of over 2.6 million rupees through fuel orders, despite an existing fuel allowance included in the salary, and the coercion of government officials to facilitate these benefits. Responding to allegations surrounding crimes at the Batalanda torture chambers, United National Party chairman Wajirabe Wadana said that killing in self-defense does not constitute a crime. US President Donald Trump issued an executive order imposing a 44% tariff on goods imported from Sri Lanka. Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in the island for a 3-day official visit. The highest award bestowed upon a foreign leader, the Sri Lanka's Mitra Vibhushana Award, was conferred on Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. 7 memoranda of understanding between India and Sri Lanka covering several key sectors were exchanged at the Presidential Secretariat. Construction of the Sampur solar power plant began. After considering the petitions filed to reject the nominations, the Court of Appeal issued an interim injunction suspending the elections at 6 local government bodies, including the Colombo Municipal Council. The Department of Census and Statistics reported a significant increase in Sri Lanka's population, which has risen by 1.43 million compared to the 2012 census. The Proceeds of Crime Bill was passed in Parliament without a vote. The motion to appoint a committee of inquiry to remove Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Tennakon from office was passed by a majority vote in Parliament. IMF Senior Mission Chief for Sri Lanka Peter Brewer said that Sri Lankans are paying the price for the past policy mistakes. President Andrew Kumar Desanayake said in a rally in Jaffna that Sri Lanka will not allow the country to slip back into racism, insisting there is no space for racist politics again. Hundreds of thousands of pilgrims made their way to the city of Kandy for the Dalada Vandana, or the sacred veneration of the tooth relic. 4 documents related to Parnadura debate and a trilingual inscription discovered by a British engineer in 1911, currently preserved in the National Museum, were added to the UNESCO World Heritage List. The final report of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry into the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks was handed over to the Criminal Investigation Department. The Criminal Investigation Department appointed a special team to investigate the matter. 167 people who died in the 2019 Easter bombings in Sri Lanka were named as heroes of faith. Dan Priyasad, a candidate of the Kolon Nava Pradesha Sabha from the Sri Lanka Pujana Peramuna, was shot dead. The government decided to reduce the number of official vehicles and the monthly fuel allowance provided to former presidents by issuing a circular. Former Additional Secretary to the State Ministry of Agriculture Mahesh Gammanpilla was arrested for the importation of a substandard stock of organic fertilizer from a Chinese company. The International Monetary Fund emphasized that Sri Lanka should adopt cost-reflective electricity pricing. The first May Day rally since the National People's Power took office was held. A stock of gold and silver belonging to civilians, which the LTTE possessed during the war, were recovered and handed over to the Inspector General of Police. President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake attended the United Nations Day of Vesak in Ho Chi Minh City in Vietnam as the chief guest and delivered the keynote address. The 2025 local government elections were held to elect 8,287 members across 339 local government institutions. The results of the 2025 local government elections were released, with the National People's Power securing 265 local government bodies, including Colombo. Meanwhile, former Minister Kelly Rambukwella, who was arrested over allegations of causing a financial loss to the state amounting to 8,05,814 rupees, was remanded. A Sri Lanka Air Force Bell 212 helicopter crashed into the Madru oil reservoir, killing 6 military personnel, including members of both the Air Force and the Army. A bus veered off the road and plunged into a precipice near Garandialla in Kotmale, claiming the lives of 22 people, including the bus driver. Bank card payment facility was launched for expressways. Queen of Sinhala cinema, Malini Fonseca, passed away. The Colombo Permanent High Court at Bar sentenced former Sports Minister Mahindanand Aludgamage to 20 years of rigorous imprisonment and former Trade Minister Nalin Fernando to a 25-year sentence in a case involving the misuse of government funds to purchase carom boards and checker boards which were distributed among sports associations. National Tax Week commenced. President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake emphasized his commitment to safeguarding every rupee paid by the public as taxes at the inauguration ceremony.
ඔබ ගෙවන්න අපි හැම රුපියලක්ම ආරක්ෂා කරනවා. ඒ රුපියලක් නාස්ති කරන්න හෝ වංචාව යොදවන්න උත්සාහ කරනවා නම් ඒකට එරෙහිව නීතිය ක්‍රියාත්මක කරන්න උපරිම අපි මැදිහත් වෙන බව ඔබට සාතික කරනවා.
In line with the World Environment Day, 5 forests, including the Nilgala forest, were officially declared a protected forest reserve. Supplementary medical professionals from 5 allied health fields, including medical laboratory technologists and pharmacists, launched a strike demanding urgent solutions to 5 key demands. Commissioner General of Prisons Tushar Upuldenia was arrested in connection with the alleged unlawful use of presidential pardons to release inmates. The arrested Commissioner General of Prisons Tushar Upuldenia was remanded. During an official visit to Germany, President Andrew Kumar Dissanayake was officially welcomed by the German President Frank-Walter Steinmeier. President Steinmeier also reaffirmed Germany's continued support for Sri Lanka's domestic reform agenda. Additional Solicitor General Dilip Piris informed the court that 3 inmates who were not included in the official list of prisoners granted a presidential pardon on Vesak Poya Day were released from the Anuradhapura prison. A committed Govibimata national program was launched to cultivate fallow paddy fields and cultivation lands. United National Party, Samagi Jana Balavegya, Sri Lanka Pujana Peramuna and the Sri Lanka Freedom Party formed an alliance for the purpose of establishing the government at local government institutions. The party said that the previous allegations of fraud and corruption that they levelled against each other are not relevant. Assets of 88 people suspected to be involved in organised crime and financial fraud were frozen. Roy Kelly Baltazar of the National People's Power was elected as the Mayor of Colombo. IMF First Deputy Managing Director Dr. Geeta Gopinath commended Sri Lanka for its remarkable economic recovery just 2 years after the country faced one of the worst financial crises in history. The Supreme Court issued an order directing the Commissioner General of the Department of Registration of Persons to issue a national identity card to a Buddhist bhikkhuni, recognizing her status as a bhikkhuni instead of Silmata. Former Minister Kelly Rambukwella, his wife and a daughter were arrested on money laundering charges. It was revealed in court that a batch of human immunoglobulin contained bacterial contaminated water harmful to the human body. This revelation was made when the findings of an international laboratory investigation into the drug's composition were presented to court. The World Bank Group approved a $150 million program to accelerate Sri Lanka's ambitious clean energy transition. The United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, arrived in Sri Lanka for an official visit. The Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption informed the court that Dr. Maheshi Surasinghe Vijayaratnam, a neurosurgeon held in remand custody, has imported questionable medical devices for use in surgeries on patients who were already brain dead. The Colombo High Court sentenced a former land official who was found guilty of soliciting a bribe of 100,000 rupees to issue permits to cut down a tree to 22 years of rigorous imprisonment. Former South African President Thabo Mbeki, a prominent statesman and the second democratically elected leader of South Africa, arrived in Sri Lanka to attend the Capital Maharaja Group's annual convention as the keynote guest. Former chairman of Sri Lankan Airlines Nishantha Wickramasinghe was taken into custody in connection with investigations into 3 allegations of corruption. He was remanded following his appearance before court. 2 luxury vehicles imported to Sri Lanka illegally belonging to a close associate of a former powerful Kaluthara district politician, valued at over 30 million rupees, were seized by the police in Bandaragama. The Deputy Speaker informed the Parliament that the Supreme Court has ruled that several clauses in the proposed Sri Lanka Electricity Amendment Bill are inconsistent with the Constitution. The Department of Inland Revenue filed legal action before the Colombo Additional Magistrate against Arjun Aloysius and Anthony Ramdev Junendra John, directors of W.M. Mendes and Company, for allegedly evading value-added tax payments amounting to 1.035 billion rupees. Elon Musk announced that Starlink's high-speed, low-latency satellite internet service is officially available across Sri Lanka. The National Prajashakti program aimed at eradicating rural poverty was inaugurated. The President emphasized that efforts will be made to uplift the poor by integrating the political machinery, government officials and citizens. Former Minister S.M. Chandrasena, who was arrested on charges of causing a loss to the government by distributing seed maize imported at government expense to poor farmers at subsidized prices through his political associates with the aim of gaining advantage in the 2015 presidential election, was remanded. Public Security Minister Ananda Vijayapala revealed that investigations have revealed that Sivanesature Chandrakanthan alias Pillayan was aware of the 2019 Easter Sunday terrorist attack well in advance. Bhatia, a majestic elephant who had been undergoing treatment for several days and was in a critical condition due to an injury on his front leg, passed away. The senior-most justice of the Supreme Court, Preeti Padman Surasena, was appointed as the new Chief Justice of Sri Lanka. President Andrakumara Dissanayake departed for the Maldives on an official visit. The defamation case filed by Andrakumara Dissanayake against former MP Janaka Kuttiarachi concluded at the Colombo District Court following an unconditional apology issued by the former parliamentarian.
කොන්දේසි විරහිත කනගාටුව ප්‍රකාශ කිරීමක් ඒ නිසා නඩුව ඉදිරියට ගෙනියන්නේ නැතුව දවසේ කනගාටුව ප්‍රකාශ කළා නඩුව සමතේටපත් කර ගැනීමක් සිදු වුණා.
The United States announced that it had reduced the reciprocal tariff rate on Sri Lankan products to 20%. Seat belts were made mandatory for all passengers travelling on expressways. The motion to remove Deshabandhu Tennakon from the post of IGP was passed in Parliament by a majority of 177 votes. Minister Andru Karunatilaka submitted to the Parliament a list of relatives of MPs and ministers who had used the President's fund to pursue foreign education.
දේශපාලනඥයාගේ නම සරත්චන්ද රාජකරුණා දරුවගේ නම හර්ෂණ සුපුන් රාජකරුණා.
Former State Minister Shashindra Rajapaksa was arrested for receiving more than 8.8 million rupees in compensation for property damage during the Aragalaya period. President Andrakumara Dissanayake approved the letter removing Deshabandhu Tennakon from the post of IGP. The Governor-General of the Commonwealth of Australia, Her Excellency Samantha Joy Mostyn, arrived in Sri Lanka for an official visit. The President's Entitlement Repeal Bill abolishing the special rights of former presidents was tabled in Parliament. The Constitutional Council approved the appointment of Attorney-at-Law Priyantha Veerasurya as the country's 37th Inspector General of Police. President Andrakumara Dissanayake appointed Attorney-at-Law Priyantha Veerasurya as the 37th Inspector General of Police. Former State Minister Lohan Ratwate passed away. He was receiving medical treatment at a hospital in Colombo at the time of his death. Postal trade unions launched a strike over multiple issues, including overtime and fingerprint systems. Minister Nalinda Jayatissa informed the striking postal trade unions that increasing overtime allowances is not possible and that fingerprint machines cannot be removed. Former President Maithripala Sirisena said that the mastermind behind the 2019 Easter Sunday attacks is known not only to the current government but also to the country's military and intelligence agencies. He emphasized that Sri Lanka lacks the capacity to confront this individual. Former Inspector General of Police Deshabandhu Tennakone was arrested in connection with the violent crackdown on protesters at Golface Green during the 2022 Aragalaya movement.
For a long time, the law of this country seemed to operate beneath the people with power and privileges.
At times, even questioning whether something was wrong was a wrongdoing in itself.
The people of this country never imagined that a former president would be arrested.
However, on the 22nd of August, former President Ranil Wickremesinghe was arrested based on allegations of misusing state funds for a private overseas trip.
Former President Ranil Wickremesinghe was arrested by the Criminal Investigation Department after being summoned to record a statement this morning. He was remanded after being produced to the court. Former Central Bank Governor Arjuna Mahendran, who is named as a suspect in the 2015 Central Bank bond fraud case, was issued a notice to appear before the court on the 26th of September. The postal trade unions have decided to suspend their strike, which was based on 19 demands. The decision followed discussions with the minister in charge, Dr. Nalinda Jayatissa. President's counsel appearing on behalf of former President Ranil Wickremesinghe informed the court that Wickremesinghe suffers from a respiratory condition that causes breathing difficulties during sleep. He stated that the former president must be connected to a medical device while sleeping and that only his wife is aware of how to operate it. The court ordered Wickremesinghe's release on 3 personal bails of 5 million rupees each, taking into account his current medical condition. Former Member of Parliament Professor Ranjit Bandara accused former President Ranil Wickremesinghe of damaging the identity of the Sri Lanka Pojana Peramuna and eroding the legacy of Rajapaksa political movement. Professor Bandara urged senior leaders of the SLPP to refrain from selling out their political movement to Wickremesinghe. A group of individuals identified as members of organised crime syndicates, including Kehel Badra Padme, Commando Salinta, Bako Saman and Nilanga, were arrested in Indonesia. Venerable Naram Panave Anandathera was appointed as the new Anunayaka of the Askiri chapter of the Siam sect. Venerable Athuruliye Ratanathera was remanded. Former Minister Rajat Senaratne was remanded in custody after appearing in court. Former State Minister Nimal Lanza was remanded, accused of damaging the house of a Negombo Municipal Council during the 2006 local government elections. The 5 organised criminals, including Kehel Badra Padme, Commando Salinta, Bako Saman, Panadure Nilanga and Thamili Lahiru, who were arrested in Indonesia, arrived in Sri Lanka. They were arrested after being brought to the island. The construction of the proposed Jaffna International Cricket Stadium in Manathiu, Jaffna, was launched under the patronage of the President. Construction work of the Vattuakal Bridge in Mulathiu were also commenced on the 2nd of September. The newly established Central Criminal Investigation Bureau of the Sri Lanka Police was officially inaugurated in Narayanpeta. A tragic bus accident occurred on the Ellavai Road near the 23rd kilometre post, resulting in 15 fatalities and 18 injuries. The law to abolish monthly pensions and other entitlements for former presidents and their widows officially came into force. The project to modernise the Colombo Central Bus Stand and the Maradana Railway Station was launched under the patronage of the President. After more than 3 years of suspension, construction of the Kadavatamira section of the Central Expressway officially resumed. Construction of new fuel storage tanks at the Kolonnava Petroleum Storage Terminal officially commenced. The Colombo Permanent High Court trial at bar sentenced Samra Puligeni Raj Roshan, also known as Ali Roshan, to 15 years of rigorous imprisonment after being found guilty of 2 serious charges, including the illegal possession of an elephant named Singiti without a valid license. Supreme Court sentenced former Controller General of Immigration and Immigration Harsha Ilukpitia to 2 years of imprisonment for contempt of court. An accident at the Naoyana Forest Monastery in Mel-Siripura claimed the lives of 7 Buddhist monks. President Andrew Kumar Desanayake addressed United Nations General Assembly in New York.
දූෂණයට එරෙහි සටන භයානකයි. නමුත් දූෂණයට එරෙහි සටන් නොකර සිටීම ඊටත් වඩා භයානකයි යන්න මම ඔබට ඉතාමත් ගෞරවයෙන් සිහිපත් කරනවා.
The appropriation bill for the 2026 fiscal year was presented to Parliament by Acting Minister of Finance Professor Anil Jayanta Fernando. President Andrew Kumar Desanayake, who was on a visit to Japan, met Japanese Prime Minister Shigeru Ishiba. Japan also agreed to provide over 1 billion rupees in grants to the Sri Lankan Navy for the acquisition of unmanned surveillance aircraft. Former SLPP local government candidate Sampath Manamperi confessed to providing the firearm used in the brutal killing of Megasare Kajja and his 2 children. Police confirmed that Aruna Vidanagamage alias Megasare Kajja was among the group allegedly involved in the murder plot of national rugby player Wasim Tajuddin. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa's Chief Security Officer Neville Wanyarachi was remanded on suspicion of illegally acquiring assets and properties worth 28 million rupees. The National Dangerous Drugs Control Board confirmed that the large stock of chemicals recently discovered in Netholpitia Tangol contains methamphetamine, commonly known as ice. The bulletproof vehicle used by former President Mahinda Rajapaksa was handed over to the government in line with the Act on the Removal of Entitlements of Former Presidents. Sri Lanka's Election Commission was awarded the Electoral Commission of the Year 2025 at an international ceremony held in Botswana. 1,000 completed houses were handed over under the patronage of President Andrew Kumar Desanayake in line of the World Habitat Day. The Working Committee of the Samagijana Balawega decided to work together with the United National Party. Former President Mahinda Rajapaksa and Maithripala Sirisena request that the bulletproof vehicles they previously used be returned to them once again. 2,000 beneficiaries received housing title deeds to members of the Hill Country Malayagam community under the patronage of President Andrew Kumar Desanayake. The Judicial Service Commission emphasized through a circular that magistrates to stop ordering special prison detentions or special security for any suspect or prisoner. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, on an official visit to China, met with the Chinese President Xi Jinping. The key suspect of the Ghani Mullah Sanjeev assassination, Sirasa and others who were recently arrested in Nepal were brought back to the island. Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya, who travelled to India to attend the 2025 NDTV World Summit, met with the Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi. President Andrew Kumar Desanayake chaired the inaugural meeting of the National Steering Committee for a Nation United national program aimed at eradicating the drug menace. Acknowledging his leadership of the central bank amid challenging global conditions, Central Bank Governor Dr. Nandalal Veerasinghe was awarded the 2025 World's Best Central Bank Governor by Global Finance magazine at the 2025 World Best Bank Award ceremony. New Police Division, Proceeds of Crime Investigation Division, also known as PCID, was inaugurated. Chairman of the Valigama Pradeshiya Sabha, Lasantha Vikramasekara, was shot and killed. 2025 ABU Media and Culture Day Summit commenced in Sri Lanka. The summit, jointly organised by the Asia Pacific Broadcasting Union, Radio Romania and the Capital Maharaja Group, was held at Stein Studios in Ratmalana. Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa, along with a group of opposition MPs, requested the Inspector General of Police through the Speaker to provide security for all opposition parliamentarians. A group of opposition MPs submitted letters to the Secretary-General of Parliament requesting pistols for security purposes. His Excellency Archbishop Paul Richard Gallagher, Secretary for Relations with States and International Organizations of the Holy See, arrived in Sri Lanka for an official visit. The national budget for 2026 was presented to the Parliament. 345 kilograms of crystal methamphetamine were seized during a special raid at the Kirinda beach. Capital Maharaja Group was honoured with the prestigious SAP Ace Award 2025 in the Game Changer category in India. 6 people died from a rockfall in Lower Kadugannava on the Colombo-Kandy main road.
Ditwa was a moment which reminded the entire nation how uncertain life truly is. It wasn't just a cyclone, but a powerful message.
It was indeed one of the worst natural disasters to hit Sri Lanka in the recent days. It claimed many lives, but also became a moment that revealed the compassion, integrity and resilience of the citizens of Sri Lanka.
Cyclone Ditwa struck Sri Lanka, causing the country's worst ever natural disaster. Within 24 hours, the Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra relief initiative was launched to aid those affected. Sirasa Shakti Sahanayatra launched a special operation for the people in disaster-stricken but inaccessible regions. Essential supplies were airlifted to those in need, with support from the Sri Lanka Air Force, the Indian Air Force and the Disaster Relief Services Centre. India granted permission for Pakistan aircraft carrying humanitarian aid for Sri Lanka to use its airspace in the backdrop of restrictions on airspace usage between the two countries. A supplementary estimate was presented to the Parliament to allocate the necessary provisions for overcoming the national crisis. The appropriation bill was passed in Parliament with 157 votes. President Andhra Kumar Dissanayake announced that the government will provide 5 million rupees as compensation for fully damaged houses. The distribution of 150,000 rupees per hectare as compensation for paddy fields destroyed by the disaster began. A supplementary estimate of 500 billion rupees was presented to the Parliament to restore normalcy to lives disrupted by recent natural disasters. On the 19th of December, the supplementary estimate was approved by the Parliament. The Executive Board of the International Monetary Fund approved a rapid financial assistance of $206 million to Sri Lanka to meet the urgent needs arising after Cyclone Ditwa. Marking another phase of India's Operation Sagar Bandhu launched to assist people affected by Cyclone Ditwa, the Indian External Affairs Minister Dr. S. Jaishankar arrived in Sri Lanka on an official visit. A delegation led by Hong Wang-Jun Zheng, member of the 20th Central Committee of the Communist Party of China and the secretary of the CPC Committee of Xinjiang Autonomous Region, arrived in Sri Lanka to strengthen China-Sri Lanka bilateral relations. Veteran actor Kalasuri Sathishchandra Edrisinghe passed away at the age of 84. Legendary singer Lata Walpala passed away at the age of 91.
At least 30 people were killed in wildfires near Los Angeles, California. Spanning over 2 weeks across Southern California, the fires caused property damage exceeding $100 billion. Following a high-stakes operation, South Korean President Yoon Suk-yeol was arrested on charges related to his sudden and controversial declaration of martial law. The TikTok app was deactivated in the United States after failing to comply with the federal mandate originated during the Biden administration to divest from its Chinese parent company, ByteDance. Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th President of the United States. Following the collapse of the Bashar al-Assad regime, rebel leader Ahmad al-Shara, formerly known as Abu Muhammad al-Golani, was appointed as the new leader of Syria. Following a victory in the federal elections, Friedrich Merz was elected as the new Chancellor of Germany. During an official visit to the White House to sign a critical minerals agreement, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky faced sharp public criticism from US President Donald Trump. Former Philippine President Rodrigo Duterte was arrested in Manila following a warrant issued by the International Criminal Court for alleged crimes against humanity. Mark Carney of the Liberal Party was sworn in as the new Prime Minister of Canada. A massive 7.7 magnitude earthquake struck Myanmar, resulting in the death of over 3,600 people. President Donald Trump imposed reciprocal tariffs on foreign imports. His Holiness Pope Francis passed away at the age of 88 after a period of illness. Armed militants killed 26 people, including Indian tourists, in the village of Pahalgam, Jammu and Kashmir. After 22 years of service, Microsoft officially retired Skype, once the world's most popular video calling platform. In response to the April 22nd terror attack in Pahalgam, the Indian government launched Operation Sindoor, blaming Pakistan for the incident. Consequently, Pakistan declared a state of emergency. Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost of the United States was elected as the new Pope, taking the name His Holiness Pope Leo XIV. An Air India Boeing 787 carrying 242 passengers from Ahmedabad to London Gatwick crashed within 32 seconds of an emergency. The plane plummeted into a medical student hostel. Only one passenger survived. Israel launched Operation Rising Lion to dismantle Iran's nuclear program, conducting airstrikes across several areas, including Tehran. This triggered retaliatory strikes from Iran, marking the beginning of a direct Iran-Israel military conflict. President Donald Trump announced the closure of United States Agency for International Development. In a historic meeting, President Donald Trump met with Russian President Vladimir Putin at an Air Force base in Alaska. Citizens of Indonesia took to the streets to protest a $3,075 additional allowance granted to members of parliament amidst a rising cost of living. The Constitutional Court of Thailand removed Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office. A 6.0 magnitude earthquake struck the mountains near Jalalabad, Afghanistan, killing 2,200 people. Gen Z protesters in Nepal took to the streets after the government decided to block 26 social media networks, including Facebook, Instagram, YouTube and X. Amid widespread protests, Nepal's President Ramchandra Paudel and Prime Minister KP Sharma Oli resigned. Charlie Kirk, a 31-year-old conservative activist and ally of Donald Trump, was shot and killed during a debate at a university in Utah. Former Chief Justice Sushila Karki assumed office as the interim Prime Minister of Nepal. Former French President Nicolas Sarkozy was sentenced to 5 years in prison for accepting illegal campaign financing from former Libyan leader Muammar Gaddafi. This marks the first time a French president has been imprisoned. A ceasefire between Israel and Hamas officially commenced. The Madagascar military seized power, alleging that President Andry Rajoelina had fled the country following anti-government protests. In a shocking heist, a group of robbers stole 19th century jewellery and other priceless artifacts from the Louvre Museum in France. Sanae Takaichi was elected as the first female Prime Minister in Japanese history. Buckingham Palace announced that Prince Andrew would be formally expelled from the royal family due to his past associations with sex offender Jeffrey Epstein. The Grand Egyptian Museum, the world's largest archaeological museum, officially opened in Egypt. Zohran Mamdani, a 34-year-old of Indian descent born in Uganda, was elected as the new mayor of New York City. A car bomb exploded near the Red Fort in Delhi, India, killing 10 people. Several doctors linked to a Kashmiri extremist group were arrested. An explosion outside a court complex in Islamabad, Pakistan, killed 12 people. The Director General of the BBC and the head of BBC News resigned following a controversy involving the edited distortion of a 2021 statement by President Donald Trump. The International Crimes Tribunal of Bangladesh sentenced former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina to death for crimes against humanity. The eruption of the Haile Gubi volcano in Ethiopia for the first time in 12,000 years disrupted air travel across Africa, the Middle East and Asia. Cyclone Senya struck the Strait of Malacca, causing floods and landslides that killed over 1,000 people in Indonesia. Australia became the first country to impose a total social media ban for children under the age of 16. A shooting at Brown University in the US left 2 students dead and 9 injured, following revelations that the shooter entered the US from Portugal via the green card lottery. President Donald Trump ordered the immediate abolition of the diversity visa, also known as green card lottery program. A mass shooting targeting a Hanukkah celebration at Bondi Beach in Sydney, Australia, killed 15 people, including a 10-year-old child, and injured over 40 others.
The Sri Lankan national team kicked off